it's interesting. They've got now this two-tier system in the UK, which is really so unfair. We've talked about the two-tier policing where, you know, they're happy to let BLM march during a pandemic, but then anyone who marches against lockdown is, you know, beaten up and it's arrested on the spot. Well, they are saying that if you are a wealthy traveller coming into the country, you don't have to quarantine, even if you're coming in from one of the zones where people typically have to quarantine, and the plebs have to do the quarantine. So they've got, again, this two-tier system for the wealthy and the average person. So it is a very bizarre way of doing it, and I would think it's not a very sophisticated way of doing it.
We have that here, though, Rita. I mean, we've had celebrities go up to Byron Bay and do it. There are some yachts that are out in Sydney Harbour that have that. I think, though, that they're doing it wrong because, you know, I completely understand if they wanted to do 3 or 4 days in a hotel and they said you get your first test negative, then you can go and finish that quarantine at home, which is like, you know, you were, say, treated as close contact at a restaurant or something like that. People would go for that. I think they would also obey the rules. And they'd also be able to get, you know, probably about 3 times as many people back into the country because right now we've got a system in this country that is based on what we knew at the very start of the pandemic. And, you know, now, I mean, I talked to New South Wales Health about it. That second test that comes back, it does happen. I think it happened in front of yours, Rita. But, you know, 50,000 tests they've done, those second tests, and I think something like 73 of them have come back positive. So there's a tiny number of people who don't get picked up on that first test.
Well, I think I think you're... Sorry, Rita, you go.
Well, I was just going to say the whole way this has been handled by the Australian government, the fact that we've still got Australians trapped overseas who can't get back, paying huge amounts to airlines to get a one-way fare. It is just appalling, really. We are still operating like this is the Spanish flu. We're back in March. We don't understand anything about this virus. We really haven't done anything to put some pressure on the states also to take a far bigger quota of overseas arrivals per day than they are. I mean, it is appalling. If you're forcing people to do 14 days of quarantine, then surely you can afford to have back many more because they're not posing a risk. They're paying to be quarantined before they can enter the community. So bring people back. Stop having people stranded in other countries and not being with their families for Christmas.
I couldn't agree with you more.